In this video, we'll talk about the daily and weekly price action of Tesla. I know everyone loves to hate it. We'll talk about the long and short dated options interest, and we'll touch on some Tesla news. There's always stuff going on for Tesla, and we'll check that out. Long story short, still a core position in my portfolio and expecting big things 2026, 2027. But I wouldn't get too excited about 2025 price action if I was you. But let's get into it. Looking at the chart for Tesla, we've got this glorious big old red wedge. We are starting to push quite firmly on the upper side of it, so it is going to be a bullish break by the looks of things, unless there's something really bad in the narrative. However, the narrative for Tesla, especially since the really boring earnings, is not exactly thrilling, and prices still managed to maintain kind of this chop here. We could probably add another trend line onto this. Where's me buttons? Sorry, bear with me. So you can see it. That is getting tight. If we do break down on this one, I would expect to, back test this volume shelf and this red trend line. So either way, we've got a pattern and a pattern. I'm not trading it. The movement range here is not exciting enough for me to warrant change a trade or to trim it. I've been adding mostly, and I would add more if we did drop back down to 260, 250. However, this looks like it wants to break bullish out of the long-term trend, so I wouldn't be too alarmed to see a drop here. I would actually prefer a drop here if we break below this blue line, come down, back, fill this. This is what I would call an air gap where volume is kind of low, so people have not really wanted to buy in this area, not with volume at least. They prefer to buy up here and much more down here. So I think if we do break here, we will move quite quickly down lower, and then these guys that have been stockpiling will want to buy more at that price. So I'd expect to move price higher. It'd be interesting to see where the market makers are sitting on this, because I suspect they might be also sitting around this area, but we can confirm that in a second. So support, I think, is just going to be down this 260. That is a huge support down there. To the upside, resistance is going to be that red trend line and this volume shelf at kind of 321. Now, the narrative, like we've talked about, has been quite bearish. Earnings were quite dull, nothing too exciting. Elon sounded really stressed, or well, more fed up than anything, which he's been getting in the neck a lot lately. I think I'd be stressed as well. But I'm still pretty confident that this pattern will complete up to 560. We've got some confluence there as well from historic levels, so I'm not too concerned. Long term, I would love to be well positioned into this one. I think I've talked about it a bunch. I'm not expecting price for Tesla to be anything exciting in 2025. It's mainly going to be a 2026, 2027, 28, 29, that kind of timeline we're looking at. So it's a longer time play. Manufacturing, it's slow to scale up, and the robo cabs on that have all been slow to scale up. So any opportunity to have this stay low and cheap into year end and maybe early 2026, I would be endlessly grateful for. I'm expecting crypto to take front seat into year end as liquidity gets ramping. All signs point to go with liquidity, so we should be getting risk on assets doing very well. But that means I want to have somewhere to move those profits to, and I think Tesla would be the perfect home for that if it stays cheap enough. Obviously, if we double or whatever, then I'm not going to be interested in adding aggressively to that as a core position. That's just not an asymmetric return, what I'm looking for. Obviously, those numbers are just to help you visualize what I'm talking about. I don't actually think Tesla's going to double anytime soon, so don't get too excited. But yeah, let's take a quick look at the weekly, see if we missed anything. Sometimes it's easier to spot things on the bigger time frames. We were kind of working with a really messy cup and handle there, but we had the false breakout, so I really would invalidate that. I wouldn't trade that as a pattern anymore. But again, no, don't think I've missed anything I really want to talk about. Indicators, I did want to talk about on the daily were kind of net neutral, didn't favor either direction. And on the weekly, it looks like we've kind of got the same vibe. Everything's just kind of holding off. So If Tesla can stay flat, I would love that. But I mean, there's lots of investors that say otherwise. Let's go look at the options market then. Okay, that's interesting. That's really interesting, actually. So when we looked at the chart, we thought maybe 280 on this bigger wedge pattern where it would be where market makers would be sitting to control price. But actually, they're sitting up at 300, so they're looking at the smaller wedge. That is a real tight range, guys. Like crazy tight, especially for a, a stock that's as volatile as Tesla. It can do 5-10% in 5 minutes. Never mind a week. Let me just check the that's a 4.45% move. They're trying to contain price within that so they don't have to pay premium to the longs and shorts. That is ambitious for market makers, so I'll give them that. But over the short term, move these out of the way. They're not expecting a crazy break either side this week, but let's push it out. We do have a lot of volume for the end of August on this one. They don't want to pay out these guys. I'm a little bit shocked to see the price that high. Let me just put the historical levels on. So typically it does come together briefly for a day or so, but normally the range is much bigger. Look at the range price had here. Huge ranges. Let me get rid of that because it's hard to see what we're looking at. So let me push out to beginning of January next year. See where everyone's looking. So we've got a lot of bearish volume here, but the bulls tend to be quite far out as well. I suspect a lot of this is hedging positions. If there is something catastrophic in the economy, car companies are going to get hit. It doesn't make any sense for someone to have a $5 strike on Tesla. That's crazy. But let's go out another year. If we can go far enough, yep. All that volume disappears. So I think that's just hedging. It's really quite illogical, I think. Possible for Tesla to get up to these levels? Probably. I think that lines up with the time frame for a lot of stuff that I'm looking at. I don't have my targets quite that bullish, but it's good to know that there's more crazy bullish interest out there. How far does this go? We can go out as far as December 2027. And we start to get some more bearish strikes. So the options market is kind of doolally for Tesla at the minute. They really don't know what to do. Short term, they're expecting some downside. Long term, they're expecting some upside. So flip a coin. Even the big boys are a little bit confused over this one. News-wise for Tesla, we've got so much stuff. We've got the Elon's new pay package, the Delaware stuff still grinding through. The robotaxi expansion, that's really good. Not obviously the numbers are still tiny, but the fact that they're able to outdo a lot of Waymo's geofenced areas already is pretty extraordinary. We'd just like to see that scale up with some more actual physical vehicles on the network, but we'll see. I'd rather them be slow and steady and not cause any issues later down the line. But I did want to talk about the institutional ownership, that green bar chart there. So all the fear narrative out there, everyone's hating Tesla. Let's sell it, sell it, sell it. It's not coming from the institutions. Look at it. They're still happy with their positions. They've got no interest. I think if price gets cheap enough, they might even start adding again. But other than that, though, the son of Walkley, I think that's right. He put on there, Elon Musk says you'll be able to play video games while driving in 3 to 6 months. I thought that was interesting because I think what that means is more from the legals perspective, because I'm pretty sure people in the US are already watching YouTube and chatting away and probably still already doing some gaming already. Just maybe if they get pulled over, they get in a little bit of trouble for it. But I think that's promising. Obviously, we have to think about Elon's timeframes, but if we've got the robocabs driving around, I don't think that'll be a problem. The pace in which things are going, that seems reasonable. The law, however, does move much slower, so we must bear that in mind. Other than that, though, the thing I'm most excited about, and I really want to start working some of this into my models, we've got the huge 2.7 billion megapack order from Georgia Power. That is the thing I'm most excited about. I'm buzzing for energy. I think the world is sleeping on how important battery storage is going to be for our energy grids all over the world, not just in America. There's going to be other competition. But the total addressable market is going to be so huge. We kind of need more than one company to be good at this. So for everyone saying, this company is better than that company, that's fine. But I know Tesla's got the manufacturing capacity to scale up quite quick, so they can take a good share of that addressable market. And yeah, I'm very excited about it. I'm buzzing for energy. That's a wrap. If you enjoyed this content, feel free to share it with your mum, your nan, your dad, your dog, whoever. And I'll see you next time.